Hello viewers, you're welcome to this tutorial. So we are learning an advance of the if statement. Okay, in the previous one we learned what the if statement actually does. So we are upgrading in what the if statement can do. Okay, so we're dealing with the else statement today. So the if and the else statement. So anytime you hear if statement, this is basically what it is. So this is what we did in the previous tutorial. So we want to add the else statement because in this statement there is just one limitation. If now the price or the condition we're expecting here is false, it doesn't display anything. Just look at it. If you run the code, it doesn't tell the user anything. But if you go to buy a product, if you do not want to buy the product, you should be able to tell the person something. Okay, I'm not buying your product. So that is where we use the else statement. So the if statement is our condition, right? The else statement is if our condition do not happen, then kind of display something to the user, so the user will not be wanting. So an example is if you try to enter username or password in any portal, maybe you're trying to open your email and you enter your username and password. The if statement is if the username and password is right, then display the login to the user. And the else statement is okay, if it is not right, then display error in username or password. Okay, so those kind of things is the same stuff we're doing right here. So the if statement is the condition we want to run, but if the condition is not true, there is something we want to tell the user and said, oh, I am not buying your product. Okay, so that is where we bring the else statement and bring another colon and hit enter. In the previous tutorial we understood what the indentation means. So the tab key brings the indentation, but by default we can have the indentation. Okay, so any code under the if statement is part of the if statement. So do not bring your else statement under the if statement. It's a different thing. The else statement is not a condition or is not to be run under the if statement. Okay, the else is different. The if is should all this happen, if this is true, give me this code, tell this to the one selling at the market. Okay, but else, so this is a different code, don't bring it under this. So else, if it is not true, so this is if nothing here goes through, what do you want to tell the person? We can't leave the person ajar. All right, so we want to print something. I am not buying your product. Okay, all right, so anything in the else statement is what will be shown to the user should this if statement becomes false. So if you remember the introduction I did about conditional statement, I said earlier that it reveals two values, either the true value or the false value. Okay, so if this is true, the else statement will not run. Okay, so in your daily lives, if this happens, I'll do this. If this does not happen, then I'll do the other one, or maybe else I'll do something else. So the if statement and the else statement does not run at the same time. One of them will run, the other will not run. So if this runs, if this condition becomes true and this code is executed, okay, execution means if this code is worked upon, if this code is used or run, this one will not run. Okay, so Python will go like, okay, this statement has been met and it's true, there is no need dealing with the else statement. Okay, but this code will only be executed if this statement we have here is false. So if the condition in the if statement is true, then the else statement will not be executed. But if the condition in the if statement is false, then the else statement will be executed. So the else is like the backup option. If I have no choice, then I'm going to eat the food I have. No more pizza. All right. So that is what is happening right now. So let's kind of run the code to see what happens. So I am not buying the product. I'm not buying the product because the price of the product is greater than the amount in my pocket, and in the condition it will yield to a false value because the price of the product is not less than or equal to the amount in my pocket. So meaning this condition will be false. It will be false in the sense that the I've taught this in the previous tutorial, so you kind of understand it better. All right, so the price of the product is not less than or equal to the amount in pocket, meaning it's a false statement. So this print I will buy the product will not work. So it will jump every code that is indented under the if statement. Okay, so if I have any other thing under the if, you can display several things. You have cheap product. Okay, all right, you have cheap product. So if this statement goes false, it will skip every indentation under the if statement, then it will run the else statement. Okay, but if this statement is true, then it will not run the else statement, but it will execute or run every indentation under the if statement. So it's like a father gets scholarship to travel outside. Okay, he will definitely take his wife and kids. I know it doesn't work that way, but he might take his wife and kids. So let's change this to 16. So if this price is 16 is indeed less than or equal to this amount, so this code will be true. So all these ones will run. So let's check it out. So I'll say I will buy the product. Okay, you have cheap product, but it never run the else statement. So the else is like the backup option. If nothing works, just display this to the user or do any other task you want to do, or kind of bargain with the person or any other. So I'm not buying your product. Maybe let me add something to it. Your things are too expensive. Okay, all right, so it is running the first one because this condition seems to be true. So if I change this back to 23 and run the code, it will run the second one. I'm not buying your product. Your things are too expensive. Why? Because this statement is false. So it jumped the if statement and everything under the if statement and went to what is called the else statement. That's the backup option. If nothing happens, this is what I would do. Alright, so this is just the basic thing we have to know about else statement. So before we jump to the next tutorial, there was one thing I want you to understand when I spoke about indentation. If I don't want to be under the else statement anymore, because anything I type right now will be a victim of the else statement. Okay, because just look, it is indented. So if I don't want the indentation, I just want to run just any ordinary code, I go back, which leaves the indentation. Okay, so meaning anything I write here will be used by default. Okay, so this is one thing you need to understand. Anything under the indentation works under the main stuff. Okay, and anything not under the indentation will not work. So just like this, the price of the product and the amount of the product is not based on these conditions. Okay, these are outside the condition. So what is indented is the victim of the main boss. Alright, that's how it works. So I want to display something. Print. Okay, bye bye. Bye bye. Alright, and have a wonderful day. Okay, so this line of code will run whether this statement is true or false. So this is a code that is not indented under the if statement and it's neither indented under the else statement. So this is so I want you to understand the indentation so well, that indentation is only to lines of code which I want them to be victims of the else statement or of the if statement. Alright, so this is code indentation. So this becomes the subset of this. Okay, and this is also the subset of this. But I want to bring another code which is not, because in the programming there are so many conditions. I don't want to put everything under if else statement. So the whether I will buy the person's product or I'm not buying the person's product, I will definitely say bye bye, have a wonderful day. Now I can duplicate this code here. I can do this. Okay, just check this out. I can bring it here and I can bring it here as well, but it's a waste of it's a waste of code. Okay, so if I run, so either of them will display bye bye. If I change this to 16, it will also display bye bye, but it's a waste of code. I'm just trying to write to, what if I have more if statement? Am I going to be repeating all this? So this is where we take one of them outside the loop. So it has to come outside the indentation. So meaning this code will run whether the if statement is executed or the else statement is executed. So if I run the code, it runs bye bye, have a wonderful day. Okay, if I change this to 16, it runs the code, says bye bye, have a wonderful day. Alright, so I want you to understand the indentation so well. Anything that is indented, okay, now if by mistake it goes back, use the tab key to indent, or use 4 spaces, the space bar 1 2 3 4, just to indent your code. Alright, so indentation is very necessary. Anything indented under the if statement will let me come this indentation. Alright, this indentation, I know you can spell it, so this indentation. Alright, so anything, but I just spelled it for you. Anything indented under the if statement only runs if the if statement is true. Anything indented under the else statement only runs if the else statement is chosen as a result of the if statement being false. Alright, and this is not indented under any of them, meaning this code will run whether the if statement is chosen or whether the else statement is chosen. So thanks for viewing. So the next tutorial we're learning if statement, an advance of the if statement, then we keep on going. So subscribe to the channel, like the video, share with new friends, and ring the bell so you get every update I give to you. So thanks for viewing, keep up.